internet shopping has really killed off retail as we knew it. Here in Wales, if you take a walk down any high street with lots of where our traditional shopping retail centres, in some ways it's a little bit like walking through a bombed out city where, every other building is just gone. The buildings are still there, but they're all shuttered up and closed, and it can get really demoralising looking at just how almost economically devastated the high street looks. When other people look at it and see despair, I see hope. Whilst it is disappointing and heartbreaking to look at, if we look at it differently, this is the beginning of a new era. And it's the beginning of a new opportunity, if we are willing to let go of the past. And here's the key. We need to understand that unless the internet suddenly goes away, the high street as we knew it is not coming back. Retail as we knew it is over. But there are still some things that aren't gone. Human nature we still love to gather as people. As we look to rebuild the high street, it's important that we start by asking, well, what core human experiences can we not get online that we still need from a community centre? There are three major areas that we can still have what we used to have and that we still need to rebuild on. And it's essentially learning, working and playing together. And so the high street still has a role as a community centre. Now, as part of the education revolution, there's a massive need for physical spaces where we can explore and do things together. If we talk about learning spaces, we had libraries for a long time which effectively acted as public spaces where we could expand our learning with things that we didn't have access to at home. Books. We don't need that now because we've all got the internet. And so the library, as we knew it, we don't need libraries like that anymore. But what we do now need is libraries for other kind of things, with things that we still need to be able to use for our education, but we can't get at home. So for example, the BBC. I've done some work around the BBC, and their tech teams in London and Manchester have these terrific spaces that they call the Blue Room. And the Blue Room that the BBC have is a room that is filled with the very latest tech that could possibly broadcast any BBC content. And it's a treasure trove of the latest and greatest tech. And it's there so that their programmers and their coders and the people who do all of the online content have instant and free and ready access to the kind of devices that they need to create their code and their software to operate on. And it means that as these guys develop their technology, they have ready access to the tools that they need to be using. Now, the BBC's Blue Room is an amazing place. I thought, what if every town and city had a Blue Room, had a place? What if schools had a Blue Room, a place where you regularly gave kids access to the kind of technology that they need to be learning to use? Now, that's just one example. That's just tech. What if high streets had places what if we had places that were a little bit like a gym? So with a gym, you pay a monthly membership fee, right? And it's because you do that because you can't fit the gym equipment into your own home, but you kind of need it. Well, what if you if you were trying to develop skills in mechanical engineering, and you were working on a part-time education in mechanical engineering, and you just needed access to some of the kind of facilities and technology and machinery? What if you then signed up for a regular monthly membership to a workshop that had the kind of facilities that you would want access to? Or, and you could expand that through every arena, from cooking and through to other kind of crafts and coding and virtual reality and everything imaginable that anybody would need in order to learn and develop skills. What if town centres had places where people could go to, pay monthly fees to join that place to expand their skill set in that arena, just like you would do with a gym. Working together. Well, we already can see areas where, and I think this is already starting to take off, where you can kind of have work spaces where you can hire desk by desk space. And I think that's going to become more and more popular, and those who use them really like them, where those who don't have a usable desk at home need somewhere to work without necessarily going and hiring a big place. I think that's going to become more and more necessary, that we have spaces that are affordable, that you can hire desk by desk, and slightly larger and larger spaces. And then in terms of playing together, well, that doesn't need a lot of explanation. Leisure, nightclubs, bars, restaurants, all those kind of things, we still need that. But we could expand that as well into places like virtual reality. We don't so much need places where you've got ping pong tables, but I think we'd love to have places where you could get the VR goggles on and collaborate on a game of Laser Quest, and that, taking that idea and updating that to the 21st century. There's one final area where the high street needs to update. Councils and governments need to get used to the idea that retail premises are not going to be the same kind of cash cows that they used to be. Business rates need to come down. They need to come down really quite dramatically. And anybody who has a high street presence needs to understand that about 20% of their sales need to be from footfall, and 80% of their sales, and probably the square footage in the shop, needs to be devoted to online sales. It's not enough anymore to have 100% of your sales focused on high street footfall. You can't survive like that. Maybe some can. I mean, if it's a sandwich shop, okay. But for a lot of other businesses, we need to completely shift so that if you do have a high street presence, or even an out-of-town retail park presence, you need to plan for only a portion of that to be walk-in footfall, and a larger portion of that to be warehouse-type distribution for online selling activities. And you need to see your premises as being customer-facing, both face-to-face, in person, and also online, so that you have a little studio in the back where you're photographing your products. There should not be anybody who works in retail who's standing around doing nothing because there are no customers. They should always be online doing something because you have a bunch of online customer orders to deal with. The new type of shop worker should not be just doing face-to-face stuff. They should be constantly dealing with customers, whether they're online or in person. Councils and high street influencers need to understand you need to make the place fun, visually interesting, and Instagrammable so people want to come and hang out there. And make them places where teenagers are welcomed. Make them places where filming is openly encouraged. Not places where security guards come and chase you away for filming with any kind of camera. This is the 21st century. Everybody's got video cameras in their pocket. If somebody pulls out a big camera, welcome them. Just ask them to tag you in on social media. Don't send the security guards to chase you away because you have to apply to the marketing department for a permit. That's nuts.